So this week's Parsha is about two momentous events. Number one is the B'choira. When Esav comes back from the field, Oyev v'yogeya, and he begs Yaakov, Aliteinu mina odom hazeh. And Yaakov takes advantage of Esav's desperation, and he says, I'll happily give you, but just sign this document. And Esav says, what is it? What do you want me to sign? And Yaakov says, we'll talk about it later, but I want to give you food. I know you're terribly hungry. Just sign. And Esav signs, and that's how Yaakov buys the B'choira. Toldos says Yaakov is ish tam yoshev v'holim. Doesn't seem to be such a tam. And the second story is even more problematic. When Yaakov conspires together with Rivka to fool the old man who is blind and pretend to be Esav, and Yitzchak is somewhat hesitant, and he says, please come here, I want to touch you. He feels that something might be going on here, and Yaakov says, yes, I am your son, Anochi bincha. How do we understand these parshios? This is a parsha we need to learn with the Zohar. It is always kedai to learn the Zohar, but here it's essential. I don't think we can understand this parsha without the Zohar. And the Zohar teaches us some fundamentals. The reason Yaakov needs the B'choira has nothing to do with money, has nothing to do with Pishnayim. Yaakov needs the brachas, and he knows that the brachas will go to the B'choira. Yaakov knows that he actually is the B'choira, because the HaKadosh Baruch Hu says, B'ni B'choiri Yisrael. But he can't convince Esav that he is the B'choira, and the brachas are becoming to him. Bracha and B'choira are the same letters, writes the Zohar. And the brachas will go to the B'chor, and that is why Yaakov Avinu needs the B'choira. And why does he need the brachas? So the Zohar says, Yaakov Avinu was benched 4 times during his lifetime. The most important brachas were those of this week's Parsha. Those that Yitzchak benches Yaakov, thinking that he's Esav. The second set of brachas is in Parshas Vayishlach. Vaya'ovek ish emoi. When Yaakov battles, Sorei shel Esav, an angel of fire. V'yomer shalchayni ki oro v'shachar, and Yaakov says, Lo yashalechacho ad asher berachtonu. And Sorei shel Esav gives him another set of brachas. When Yitzchak tells Yaakov, go to Lavan because your life is in danger, Vayavorech Oisai. Yitzchak benches Yaakov once again. And Yaakov is on the way to Padan Aram. And HaKadosh Baruch Hu, once again, he has a revelation, and HaKadosh Baruch Hu benches him. So Yaakov achieved 4 sets of brachas during his lifetime, and the Zohar Kodesh says, the lesser of all the brachas, which is the brachas Yitzchak benches Yaakov when he sends him to Lavan, Yaakov take for himself. In all his trials and tribulations and all the difficulty he will endure with Esav, with Lavan, with Yosef. And the 3 other brachas, Yaakov doesn't touch. And he gives them to Klal Yisrael Deirosav. And we were nigal from Mitzrayim in the schus of 1 set of brachas Yaakov Avinu gave us. Geulas, we went out of Golas Bavel, and we were zoche to Bayesheni in the schus of another set of brachas. And the brachas Yaakov achieved instead of Esav still are untouched. And it is only in the merit of those brachas that we will be zoche to Ketzei Amin and to the Geula Shalema. And Yaakov knows all this beruach HaKodesh. It is not about him. Yaakov has no personal benefit from these brachas. Yaakov knows that this is HaKadosh Baruch Hu's master plan, and this is the way it needs to be. And this is the way it needs to unfold. For Yaakov, this is Mesiras Nefesh. He was a Ishtam Yoshev Aholim. It goes entirely against his nature. He's also putting his life in jeopardy, and he is afraid, and he asks Rivka, Ulai yemeshani ovi, v'hevesi olai klola v'loi brocha. Why do I need to do this? And Rivka says, Olai kilalascha. Do as I tell you. This is the way it needs to be. So the brachas of Yaakov Avinu, it is only in the source of these brachas that Klal Yisrael will be zoicha to the Geula Shalem. And I still ask, after learning the Zohar, but why does it need to be this way? Why was that min hashamayim? Why does Yaakov need to cheat to achieve these brachas? Why was that HaKadosh Baruch Hu's plan? So the Navi says, and we read that in the next of Torah, Ahavti eschem, Omer Hashem, v'amartem b'meh ahavtoni. Halo ach Esav leYaakov, v'oyev es Yaakov es Esav suneisi. And HaKadosh Baruch Hu says, I love you. B'meh ahavtoni. Esav and Yaakov are brothers. What is the difference between the two when I love Yaakov and I don't love Esav? And B'shas Kriyas Yamsef, the Medrash says, Sora Shem Yam says, Halo love the Avodah Zarah, but I love the Avodah Zarah. What is the difference? They're the same. And HaKadosh Baruch Hu says no, and his guys of the Yam should split. A time will come in the future, it won't be so obvious who's Esav and who is Yaakov. It won't be so obvious that Yaakov deserves more rachamim shamayim than Esav. And that is why these brachas, that ultimately will lead the brachas of the Geula Shalema, Yaakov achieved when he looked exactly like Esav. And Yitzchak actually thought that he's benching Esav and he was benching Yaakov. That is the way it needs to be. These brachas need to be Yaakov's even when and if, chas v'sholem, he will look just like Esav. And it wouldn't be obvious why Yaakov deserves these brachas more than Esav. And HaKadosh Baruch Hu will say, love is beyond reason. Ohavti eschem Hashem. Ach Esav leYaakov, v'ohav es Yaakov es Esav sunesi. And that is the way it was. That is why it was min hashamayim that Yaakov is going to get these brachas. Not because he is Yaakov. To Yitzchak he appeared to be Esav, and Yitzchak benched him. So these brachas will be Yaakov's in all circumstances, in all times, regardless of how Yaakov will seem to be. So these two stories, the B'choira and the Bracha, are not about Yaakov. To him it was Mesiras Nefesh. But Rivka told him, and they knew, this is the way it needs to be. And these brachas rightfully belong to Yaakov, to B'nai B'choi Yisrael. And this is Ritzayin Hashem. So we are desperately waiting for the fulfillment and the manifestation of these brachas of this week's Parsha. We should be zoicha b'kora b'yameinu, that these brachas should finally be fulfilled. I don't remember whether I shared this thought with you recently, but it's a gewaldige word, so it's always kedai to share again. Mitzvah Shabbos Kodesh, Besudas Malav Amalka, as all the three Sudas Shabbos. There are a lot of Zemiras. But what is unique about Mitzvah Shabbos Malav Amalka is there is a Zemer for two individuals, which we do not have, Leil Shabbos, Shabbos in the morning, or by Shalosh Shudas. There is one Zemer L'Kvodah Shel Yaakov Avinu, and another one L'Kvodah Shel Eliyahu Hanavi. Why is that? Rashi brings in Parshas Bechukoisai, בחמישה מקומים כתוב, יעקב מולה ויעשב חוסר. 5 times in Tanakh Yaakov is written with a vav, and 5 times in Tanakh Eliyahu lacks a vav. One of the 5 times is the famous posek, Hinei onochi sholech lechem es Eliyahu Hanavi, lefnei bo yoim Hashem hagodel v'anoira v'heshev levo v'salbonim. Iravoin lakach Yaakov Avinu Eliyahu. Eliyahu promises Yaakov, I will come and I will be the mevasa Shalom at the end of days. But Yaakov is the one that brought about the Geula. That was Yaakov's avoid. And that's why Yaakov takes a mashkoin from Eliyahu. And the Maral explains why Vav and why 5, not 4 or 3 or 6 or 7. And why the Vav, not Aleph, Beis, Gimel or Zayin, Chestes. The Maral says, on the hand of a human being, there are 5 fingers. And of all the letters of Aleph Beis, the only one that resembles a finger is a Vav. And that's a remes to a Tkiyas Kaf. Yaakov demanded that Eliyahu swears to him. A promise wasn't enough. And Eliyahu gave Yaakov a Tkiyas Kaf, and that is the remes of the Chamishu Vavim that Yaakov takes from Eliyahu. Shit alfin shnin have alma. That's a Gemara 3 times in Shas, of the Zorah Shona and Sanhedrin. Ubishvi Chorev. Motzei Shabbos Malav Malka is called Sudas Dovid Malka Meshicha. And that is after Shabbos Kodesh. Shabbos Kodesh is the Elef HaShvi'i, and that is the Elef of Geula. So Motzei Shabbos by Sudas Dovid Malka Meshicha, we sing to Yaakov Avinu, Al tiru avdi Yaakov. Don't be afraid. Eliyahu will keep his promise. And you will give back those 5 vavim, ultimately. And then we sing a Zema for Eliyahu Hanavi, because he is the one that B'korah b'yameinu Yavoy v'yavasa Geula liYisrael. So those are the 2 Zmiris of Motzei Shabbos Sudas David Malka Meshicha. Let us hope that B'korah b'yameinu Eliyahu will get his 5 vavim back, and Yaakov will happily give back that Pekodoin, and we will be Zoicha finally, Hinei onochi sholech lochem es Eliyahu Hanavi lefnei, bo yoim Hashem hagodol v'anoira v'heshev levo v'salbonim, v'leivbonim ala voisom bebias goyel tzedek b'mheiro v'yomeinu amen.